Games take a long time to make. Especially now when there's so many moving pieces you have to keep up with. 3 to 4 years seems standard for making a game now. It took Unreal Tournament 3 about 3-ish years to be done, and now Unreal Tournament 4 is never going to come out. The first Unreal game took about 3 to 4 years to come out, depending on who you ask, and that game eventually came out in 1998. Apparently back then, games taking that long to make didn't really happen all too much. I mean, look at the time gap between Doom and Quake, for example. Developed by Digital Extremes and Epic Mega Games, and published by GT Interactive, after such a hectic development, the game came out, and it didn't work. After a bunch of patches, it did work, and it was amazing. It still is amazing, and I want to talk about it. So, if you care, allow me to spend some time talking about one of my favorite games, Unreal. Unreal eventually came out with an expansion called Return to Pali, and was since repackaged as Unreal Gold, the definitive way to play the game. I used to have a physical copy, but I don't know what came of it, so GOG will have to do for now. GOG or Steam, whichever you prefer. So you run the game, and it looks like ass. Apparently, this used to be cutting-edge graphics back then. Well, no, it was, we just have to fix up the settings a bit. The base game doesn't come with 1920 by 1080, but we do have 1600 by 900, and flipping the color depth from 16-bit to 32-bit seems to fix all the lag issues. I don't know why, but if you want to play this game, this is a decent place to start. I mean, hell, this is where I started. But there's an even better way to play this game. There's a site called Old Unreal, which, among other things, is keeping Unreal up to date for modern computers, squashing bugs, and adding different features like OpenGL with their unofficial patch. Well, it's as officially unofficial as it gets, seeing as they're working under Epic's blessing, which is actually kinda cool. So, the game looks great, it runs fantastic, maybe lower the brightness a little bit for that moody atmosphere, pick your character model, and you have yourself a grand old time. Now that we have it set up, let's play. The first level you play is a ship that you're apparently imprisoned on, called the Vortex Rikers. And, okay, what an introduction. I have no idea who I am, what's going on, where I'm at. I'm freaking out, and I'm having the time of my life. It just feels like everything hit the shit. I don't know, apparently I like that. I like the lighting at this level. I mean, geez, dude, look at this. Without combat, it introduces you not to the world you'll be playing in, but the atmosphere you're fighting in. One of my favorite first levels in any game, truly. When I was a kid, I had no idea what the hell was going on. But when I took my first steps out, I heard,
"Prisoners 849 escaping. Breaches detected."
And I knew everything I needed to know. I didn't need to be told what happened, and everything I could read only told me what happened to those people. I don't think I could even read at the time, but no amount of words could have done the same amount of justice as those first few steps off that ship. Pretty simple, stock standard stuff, really. You're a prisoner on a spaceship that made a crazy crash landing on some godforsaken planet where the natives are currently being enslaved by warrior lizard ninja guys. In order to escape, you have to go all over the damn place, find an alien escape pod, escape, and there you go. You start the game as a prisoner, and you end the game as a prisoner. Super deep. Although the story seems rather simple, it's the way that it's presented that makes it memorable. You're never told anything straight up. Until the end of the game, there isn't a single cutscene. Every message and note you read never tells you enough to piece everything together. As a matter of fact, there's really only 2 living human people you come across. And there one goes. Your only allies are your weapons, and these 4-armed alien dudes that help you out any way they can. And that's assuming they don't get murked. These guys are the enslaved people on this planet, and they're the only ones not trying to kill you. Almost everything else is. The enslaving warrior lizard ninja guys, some mercenaries, those brutes, even the planet's native wildlife is trying to take you out. Hell, even the environment has it out for you. The story isn't about some prisoner trying to escape a planet, it's about a prisoner struggling on a planet that's trying to kill them. And instead of telling that story with text walls or cutscenes, they tell it through you just playing the game and playing that conflict. You stumble out of that ship, and you scrounge around for any health or ammo just to get onto the next level, only to get screwed over more than you already were. Maps are hostile, the enemies ambush you, you're gonna get lost, and you're going to struggle, but that's the point. That's the whole story it's trying to tell you. It's not about the lore of the planet or the aliens, it's not about the backstory of your character or why you're in prison. It's a desperate, primal fight for survival, and very little else to waste your damn time. My throat. The entire first level is a great example of this storytelling philosophy. Another one is the first time you meet a brute. See, you just got out of that prison ship, and after all that time in an enclosed space being spooked to high hell, you finally get some fresh air. After a bit of exploring, you find a path through a cave. Back into an enclosed space you go. But once you turn the corner... Yeah, by the way, that was the second living guy you ever see. And there he goes. Much later, you find a downed alien ship on your path to wherever the hell you're going. You go into this funky place, and after a bit of exploring, you summon an elevator, and then... See what I mean? Typically, when a new enemy is introduced, there's some build-up and some huge spectacle. Then you fight the enemy one-on-one, like a dance between you and an unknown stranger, and they're all awesome. Okay, maybe not all of them, but the ones that matter at least. And then, there's the best introduction in the entire game. Big spoilers ahead here. If you want to play the game with any semblance of mystery, just play it. Because all the mystery is going to be gone after you see this. This is the best the game has to offer in terms of its introductions. Okay? Okay, guess you want to get spoiled then. There was some alien running around your ship when you first started the game. That Skaarj dude that was through all that thick-ass fog. You barely get a glimpse of him the first time you see him. And the next time you see him, he destroys just these 3 dudes and then just runs away right after that. This level and the level after... you don't see him again. In Radjagar Mine, the game's 3rd level, there's some force field blocking your way, so you have to go through a side path in order to turn it off. On your way there, you come across a thin, narrow, harshly lit hallway, and when you turn the corner, you see some dudes all butchered and torn apart. 3 of them to be exact. It didn't look like they had a good day. You turn the hallway, and here you go. Just excuse me for a second. After that's done, you turn off the switches, and right then you could just apparently go over to where you were before. hell is going on? And after all that, you get to rush and run all over the place, shooting up aliens, helping out dudes, just going ham on anything that's shooting at you. And bro, what is up with this track? Why is it so good? So far, everything has been pretty simple to kill, right? Most of them linearly go in a straight line towards you. Some stay still, some you have to dodge rockets and shoot, all simple stuff really. So far, this game, on Unreal difficulty, is actually pretty easy. Until you fight more of these guys. You later encounter these Skaarj scouts in different terrain that's a lot more open. So you go to shoot someone, whoa, did that guy just dodge that? Holy crap, is he rushing me down? Oh, okay, now he's keeping his distance. This is what Unreal is all about. The first couple of levels honestly feel like a light version of Quake, but battle turns into something else once these guys are introduced. These guys won't fight on your terms. They change up their strategy, they're really hard to hit, and these are the weakest version of this enemy. Fighting these bots feels the closest to fighting an actual person I've ever felt, even all these years later. Taking them down is like a true victory, like they're all mini boss fights, especially at first when your arsenal is rather lacking. God help you if you're fighting 2 at once, or 3, or if you're fighting in their ship in an environment that best suit their strengths. As a kid, I always admired them, like they were so cool, look at them. But when I played this game for this video, I realized something that I couldn't realize with how naive I was before. Of course, they are enslaving the Nolly, the 4-armed dudes that help you out. That's like the worst thing. But their dominance over them goes beyond simple showings of text on a screen. They infest every place of the Nolly you explore. Later in the game, you can ascend to Nolly Heaven, and even here they linger. They build their own little base here, like a tumor in a body, dwelling and infecting, waiting to spread. Even in their monastery, they build some sort of prison, and in their churches, they build their bases. The outdoor areas are freaking amazing. The flora is usually kept to a minimum, and the fauna typically only mind their own business. But what's really fascinating is the landscape itself and the sheer size of it all. The level design has a certain feel to it. I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, this game taught me that every corner needs to be explored because the designers fully expected you to explore it and usually rewards you with a cool gun or ammo or whatever. It's why when I play games now, I try to do and explore as much as I can.
Find me some sweet bank dispensers.
Sometimes it's unclear which way is the way to get cool secrets and which way is the actual way to progress the game. You can't backtrack to previous levels, so once you cross that invisible line and that neat transition, you're never going to have a chance to go back and find what you lost. When you complete a level, you go smoothly from one environment to another, almost seamlessly. No cutscenes, nothing. Like a true journey, like Dark Souls with an extra step, that extra step being a loading screen that, with modern systems, takes like a quarter of a second. It's actually kind of impressive how smooth most of these transitions are. A true testament to the team's planning and communication. In any other game, there would be a loading screen and maybe a cutscene that describes where you're going, with a jerky transition from one level to another. Maybe some endgame stat type thing that shows how many people you killed. But with this game, it's subtle. You just move on from one part of the world to another. And, okay, speaking of the world looks great. Okay, now I gotta go talk about the graphics. Oh, shit. This game just looks really cool. The lighting. Oh, the lighting. I love the lighting in older games like this. If you want to appreciate this game, do yourself a favor and bring the brightness down to a slightly too dark amount. The lighting is like painting. It's like they painted colors all over the place, and it bounces vibrantly off textures in a gorgeous and believable way. Throughout the game, they use lighting in all sorts of crazy and unique ways, and they don't shy away from any vibrant, high contrast colors to avoid being edgy. Truth be told, the lighting is the only thing that didn't age all too much. Models look wonky, textures can look outright potato, and the environments are all jumbled pieces of simple geometry, hardly representing what it's supposed to be. But, I don't know, I kinda like it. See, back then, devs were trying to make everything as realistic as possible, right? But the technology was nowhere near where it had to be for it, so in a lot of cases, they just had to make do with whatever the tech could give them. They're trying to be as realistic as possible, but they virtually could not yet. This creates a new type of art style, a style where the limitations make the art. If you were to look at it objectively, the goal of realism was never even close to being achieved. But limitation creates its own style. It's like looking at Egyptian artwork. Objectively, a lot is wrong here, but nobody mentions that because the style from the times is almost completely its own. Same with this game. It doesn't bother me that everything is a geometrically simpler amalgamation of what it's trying to create. That's the point, and that's the art style for me. It's really simple on the eye. It's like a clean painting. Exiting the tight corridors of the Vortex Rikers and taking your first breath of fresh air with that wide valley and Nightleaf Falls was so jaw-dropping for me as a kid. And this is a constant thing. You'll typically flip-flop from tight place to wide open space, tight space, back to wide open space. You'll be stuck in a gnarly water temple, and then you'll be free in a frickin' arena. You'll go through several decks of the ISV Kron, a human spaceship that met its same fate as your prison ship that's overran with Skaarj, straight to the Spire, an impossibly large structure over a deadly drop into a fiery pit of lava that raises you to Pali. You'll enjoy the wide-open spaces of Nali Heaven, then dwell into the Skaarj base underneath it. Right after that, you'll pass through Valora Pass right to the monastery. It goes on. But I've only listed about a quarter of the levels that you'll go through in this game. The freedom and beauty of the Nali are constantly contrasted by the constraint and coldness of the Skaarj. Pretty sad, huh? Hey, quick question. What flavored death do you like? This ain't just a tech demo, baby. This is a video game. A first-person shooter, to be exact. And lucky for Unreal to have such an impressive lineup. There's 10 for the base campaign, and you get them one by one throughout what feels like most of the game. It's a slow burn getting every gun, but they're worth it. Trust me. No matter what gun you have, combat is always fun, especially against the Skaarj. Now, honestly, I could go on forever about each and every single gun and their use in the game and how fun or lame they are. So I will. This gun sucks. When you start off the game, you have basic bitch enemies to fight, right? You got these spike-throwing ceiling dudes that like to ruin your day, these brutes, maybe a bird guy. The point being, you know exactly where these enemies are going to go. You see, the Dispersion Pistol is, well, it's slow. Way too slow for some later enemies. It can work great against slow enemies like these, but once you meet the Skaarj, this gun went from decent to unusable garbage. Really quick. Utter trash. Now that doesn't mean the gun is without use, though. For one, it can recharge its ammo, giving the gun basically an endless supply. And because the shot is so bright, you can use it to light your way around dark corners if you're without flares or a flashlight. You can also use the secondary fire to boost yourself up ledges you can't normally jump onto if rocket jumping would be too costly, but that use is so niche it almost never pops up throughout the entire game, and you never need it anyways. Weapons in Unreal have two fire modes, primary and secondary. Primary being the main use of the gun, and secondary being either some auxiliary usage, or to cover some weakness or amplify the strength of the given gun. The primary fire for the Dispersion Pistol is a bright energy shot that you can just hold down and rapid fire, while holding down the secondary fire allows you to charge the weapon for a bit more damage and AoE potential, hence you could damage boost yourself up ledges. Not the best usage of a secondary fire, but it helps to introduce a concept to those who have no idea what I'm talking about. There's also the fact that this weapon can be upgraded. Throughout the game, you can find these canisters that increase the damage of the primary shot, and that's about it. It doesn't boost the speed of the ball, it doesn't increase your rate of fire, as a matter of fact it reduces it, it just boosts the damage you can dish out with these slow, useless balls of light. And okay, it does increase the max ammo you have, but it makes it so that each shot costs more to fire, so you always lose with this weapon. That being said, a fully upgraded Dispersion Pistol can do a lot of damage, especially if it's amplified. But, you know, when you're fighting enemies like this, power can only do so much. Basically, a bad gun. Wacky flashlight. Can we get a real gun now? This is where the guns start becoming usable. Not exactly good, but definitely usable. Yes, it may be just another pistol, but this one's cool because it's hit scanning. For those who aren't in the know, watch how I fire this Dispersion Pistol. It shoots an energy ball in a straight line and it doesn't stop until it hits something. That's called a projectile. Whether it's a beam of energy, a rocket, toxic waste, or a piece of flak, if it takes time to travel to your crosshair, it's generalized as a projectile. The reason why the Dispersion Pistol is not so good is because of this travel time from point A, you, to point B, your enemy. You have to lead your shots, and with enemies that dodge like freaking animals, it can be almost impossible to hit them. When I fire the Automag, no matter how far away I am from something, the moment I click mouse 1, I hit whatever I'm aiming at. If there seems to be no travel time at all when you fire a weapon, it's generalized as hit scan. This makes the gun infinitely more accurate than the Dispersion Pistol, and it makes it so dealing damage is dependent on your skill and not the skill of your enemy dodging it. If you ever feel like you're not cool enough to play this game, you can use the secondary fire where you shoot all gangster-like. You shoot faster, but much less accurately. Useless, unless you're up close and personal. In that case, it can actually be pretty good. This gun doesn't really hold up throughout the game. At first, the gun will be like your workhorse, but later it just gets relegated to... And in late game, this gun gets... It gets replaced, but I'll get to that later. The Automag doesn't really do all too much damage, but ammo is everywhere when you first get it. Also, this is the only gun where you have to reload. There's no reload button, you reload manually. It's not that long, but in a tense situation, it could really screw you over if you aren't looking out for that clicking sound. Aw yeah, this is where the guns start getting creative. Going all Dead Space on ya, this gun used to be some sort of mining tool but has since been reused as a weapon. No idea how shooting shards of hard crystal could have been a mining tool, but you know what, I won't judge. This gun's concept is just too cool. Primary fire is a rapid stream of crystals, with no drop-off. I know it's weird. To be frank, the shards are fast, and so is the rate of fire, but not fast enough to be reliable beyond close to mid-range, and there's no real damage to make up for it either. That being said, using this gun is really fun and tense, but there's no reason to use it once you get better weaponry. I would say the Automag is overall better given its hit scan properties. But here's the thing, the whole Dispersion Pistol, Automag, and Stinger combo make an awesome trio for the first few levels. Each gun covers the other's weaknesses perfectly well. Need damage now? Use the Automag. Need coverage? Use the Stinger's faster speed. Need to feel like an idiot? Use the Dispersion Pistol. The secondary fire isn't lame this time. It's not a silly charge thing or a sideways thing. Instead of a beam of shards, you shoot out a spread of them, like a shotgun, so you can choose whether you want a minigun type gun or a shotgun type gun in one weapon slot. That sounds so cool, but it's ruined with the slow-ass cooldown you have to go through every time you want to be cool. Also, it's like the Skaarj can see it coming, like they have some sixth sense, and you're playing checkers, they're playing fourth dimensional chess. They always seem to dodge it. It may seem awesome, but you could just do a lot more damage just by holding down the primary fire and circle strafing anyways. Yet another useless secondary fire. This gun is cool, but later in the game, there's guns that do what it does, just better. I mean, half the time you forget you even have it. I think the devs forgot about it too, because throughout the game, you could have several levels straight with no real stinger ammo. Then they realized what they did, so they leave like 120 in the corner, as if it would help. I mean, I bet you wouldn't even notice either, because once you get the next few guns, you're not going to want to use it anyways. That box in the bottom right corner, which shows your stinger ammo, is always going to be green, and it's always going to be full, unless, I don't know, you want to use it just to use it. Oh, by the way, one of the hidden weaknesses of this gun is that, okay, so when you're shooting the ceiling dudes, right, they actually shoot faster while you're shooting them, but only with this gun. I don't know why they did that, but they went ahead and just did it. Now this, in my opinion, is where the guns start getting actually good. Primary fire is a freaking laser beam. Kapow! Scan that just goes kapow! It's like a Quake railgun, only it doesn't quite one-hit kill. Think of this like a slightly slower Automag, but with damage so that it can actually be useful. It takes what the Automag does and its role in your arsenal and just straight up replaces it. Need damage right now? Don't feel like dealing with the AI's godlike dodging? Need to pick someone off and are willing to spend the ammo for it? It's got your back. This is like the most reliable gun. Unless you're bad, whatever you're aiming at is going to take a beating. Now, secondary fire shoots out a much, much slower ball of plasma or something that deals even more damage with AoE potential. For whatever reason, you could just shoot an absolute boatload of these things all at once. But like all projectiles, expect these to be dodged a lot. Now, what's really cool is that if you shoot your secondary fire plasma ball with your primary fire plasma beam, it will result in a huge damaging explosion that borderline one-shots everything if you can hit it. It's just so cool. I couldn't do this as a kid, but I sure as hell would try. The catch being that the ball has a really small hitbox, and for whatever reason, shooting the ball successfully takes more ammo than it normally would, which is strange, but I guess it works to balance the gun out. I love this gun. Even to the late game, I still use it, which is something I can't say for any of the previous guns. One big drawback is the ammo for the gun, or, the lack thereof. There's not a lot of ASMD cores to go around for some strange reason, but this gun covers so many roles it makes every shot precious and every missed shot a tragedy, which lowers the stamina or durability score quite a bit. I don't know why I'm doing this JoJo thing. I thought it'd be funny. If they handed out ammo for this gun the same way as the 8-ball rockets, I'd use it every chance I got, which I guess makes limiting the ammo a smart move on the devs' part. I typically go on a tirade with it, run out of ammo, and then use other guns while I collect more cores just to go on another tirade. Even though I say this gun is the first outright good gun, that doesn't mean the other guns are worthless. I mean, okay, in the endgame they kinda are, but when these are all that you have, they cover each other's bases really well. What ends up turning into that tirade weapon I talked about earlier was once an actual railgun because it did so much damage compared to everything else I had, and I had so little ammo and so little options left to me. The more weapons you get, the more their role changes in your arsenal, which means some guns have to become obsolete, which is unfortunate. Luckily for the ASMD, that obsolescence never comes. It's a rocket launcher. Every FPS needs one, but every FPS uses theirs differently. I don't really know why they call it the 8-ball, but whatever. Primary fire shoots really slow rockets in a straight line. Holding down primary fire allows you to load up to 6 rockets and shoot them all at once, which... okay, is actually pretty cool. No idea why it's only 6 when it's called the 8-ball, but whatever. Secondary fire works the same way as primary, but replaces the rockets with grenades. That's right, you have a rocket launcher and a grenade launcher all in one gun. No need to swap out. You want a big boom, you only have one place to go. This simplifies the option selecting process, and I really like that. Splash damage is, of course, going to be your main damage output with this gun. But splash is huge with this weapon, which creates a bit of a problem. Given how fast enemies can be and how slow these rockets are, you kind of have to be closer in order to properly get a shot in, but if you get too close, you'll just kill yourself. So yeah, this gun can do a lot of damage, but there's almost no chance for you to use it, which is a damn shame because, it is a rocket launcher. Its one saving grace, though, is that you will always have rockets or grenades to shoot, because for some strange reason, one pack of ammo for the 8-ball gives 12 loads of explosives. You can only have 48 max, and these things are everywhere. Some guns have ammo pickups worth 1 ammo, and here this gun goes, giving away free ammo like they're nothing. Like, oh, of course you're gonna use the 8-ball. Why wouldn't you use the 8-ball, right? It's like the devs wanted this to be your workhorse gun, not knowing that enemies are just going to dodge them anyways. This brings up the durability, or stamina stat, or whatever you want to call it, that I've been using. Every gun except 2 has their own ammo supply, with some, of course, being more rare than others. And I portray this through the durability stat. But for whatever reason, the most common round, by far, is for the 8-ball. I don't know why, they just did it like that. I mean, like, yeah, that makes sense. It may seem pretty standard, like, duh, you don't want your players to use a gun all the time, don't give them so much ammo. Even Doom did this, but Doom didn't have to work with 10 different guns with enemies that could turn out to be this spongy. Another really cool thing is the heat-seeking properties the gun gets if you hold down your crosshair on something before you load up, which, yeah, it is also awesome. You can press secondary fire while loading up your missiles and have it all shoot in a tight circle to your opponent, which can kill anything in one go that isn't a boss. Actually, now that I think about it, they probably expected you to use the held version of this gun more often than not. Kind of like a stressful, tense, oh, when am I going to release these rockets type of situation. Because once you start doing that, you could shoot it in a line, shoot a tight spiral, you could heat seek it, you could go for splash. There's a lot of utility in this one gun, and a lot of options depending on your enemy and the terrain, or if you want to use grenades. But it's just easier to get the Automag or Stinger and circle strafe some dude until they go down. That way I don't risk splash damage hitting myself. The only real weakness this gun has, other than the splash damage of course, is its crippling slowness. And being slow in a game this fast-paced will get you nowhere. Unless you use the heat-seeking missiles, don't bother. Just note you'll never run out of rockets unless you really try. You got a shotgun, okay, that shoots hot molten scraps of flak at your enemy that bounce all over the place if they don't sear inside of their flesh. That is so fucking cool I can't even gush about it right. And it doesn't help that this gun's just awesome. Once you get it, you won't stop using it unless the enemies are too far away or you have no ammo for it, which, to me, happens a lot. When you get in all nice and close and just let rip, you get this awesome sound effect of the flak digging itself in. It's like crunchy and gooey all at once, and I just love it. And hey, let's say you're a bit too far away to use this weapon proper. Use your secondary fire, where you just take the whole flak and launch it at them, exploding it on impact. You have a shotgun, an impact explosion grenade launcher, all in one gun. Needless to say, the damage output for this gun can be a little ridiculous. But the ammo, dude, the ammo! It seems whenever there's a crazy good gun, the devs feel the need to balance it out by limiting the amount of ammo you can have. Not as much as the ASMD, I don't think, but still limiting. Which can be a little frustrating. You can't just run one gun, especially if it's good, so as much as I want to run the whole game with this Flak Cannon, they won't let me. And yeah, that makes sense. A lot of people spend a lot of time making all these guns, and they'd all kill themselves if they figured out people were only using one of them. But, you know, sometimes you just want to shred someone's face off for 15 hours straight. There's nothing wrong with that. I can't go on enough on how good this gun is. Most of my clips walking around empty hallways, I have this gun in hand, just in case, you know? Never go alone without it. It'll truly have your back, probably the most reliable gun you can get in the entire game. I love it to pieces, nothing but positive glowing reviews, top tier gun, awesome stats, there's no reason to not use it. It's like, this is the idea. You're shooting bits of iron into people. How could you make a gun that's cooler than that? You shoot an alien hunting gun that shoots out spiral discs that ricochet all over the place until it inevitably hits something, either lobbing off your enemy's head or lobbing off your head. And yeah, I said that right. You can shoot dudes' heads off with these things. It's just so cool. I'm so glad guns are being cool now. And you could shoot a lot of these things, bro. Like, so many razor blades bouncing all over the place. And if the Skaarj you're fighting has another one of these guns, you're both trying to see who can die first, because you know whoever's left is just going to get got by these blades. Primary fire shoots a ton of blades in very rapid succession. Secondary fire kind of curves the gun and shoots the blade sideways. I had no idea what this was until I looked it up. Apparently, firing in this mode makes it so that the blades follow where your crosshair is at. Kind of like Half-Life's rocket launcher. But where in Half-Life the rockets follow your crosshair to the T, the RazorJack blades barely follow your crosshair. It just meekly bends vaguely in the direction that you're looking at. I think the idea was to shoot a bunch at once and have them all ricochet all over the place, correcting their trajectory towards your crosshair at once, and all coalesce and hit your opponents that you're looking at, but that doesn't really compete with just aiming and leading your shots to the head. Unlike the Stinger, these shots go much faster, giving it a much higher speed rating despite having less shots per second. Having a faster projectile matters in this game, with enemies that can dodge like this. And the RazorJack, despite being a projectile weapon, is really, really good. Also, getting headshots with this gun is just so freaking cool, dude. You just cleave the dude's head off, like, it's just so clean, and the head goes flying, and they react to it. They play an animation every time they lose their head. They're all like, oh shoot, where'd my head go? And, I'm gonna get ya, and must shoot, must shoot. It's just too cool. This is the coolest gun in the world. This gun isn't as good as the Flak Cannon, nor the RazorJack, but, okay, it's still really good, at least in theory. This gun takes blobs of toxic sludge and, well, it shoots blobs of toxic sludge. Primary fire goes ham with it, just blah, 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 blah. The sludge stays on the ground for a while until either something touches it, dealing a mini explosion, or it blows up on its own. Now, bro, this stuff must smell, because there's nothing that it cannot stick to. But that's where the strategy lies. You're not really supposed to shoot directly at enemies, even though that could do plenty of damage. The sludge has a bit of a drop-off, making it more difficult to aim correctly this way. No, you're supposed to go absolutely nuts with this gun. Shoot the floors, the walls, the corners, the ceiling. Just by shooting a bunch of sludge around, you can deny that area to anyone unless they're willing to take a hefty punishment, including yourself. This is the perfect area denial tool. The sludge doesn't explode until like 10 seconds pass, and in combat where every second counts, that basically means forever. So basically, the entire time that combat is happening, you're denying whatever space the enemy or you could possibly go to. You're making the battlefield hazards at your own pace. The real problem is that you could either do all that set play, or equip the Flak Cannon and two-shot them, or the RazorJack and one-shot them. This gun can potentially do a lot of work, but other guns can do the exact same thing for a lot less effort, which is the real kryptonite to this gun. You have to put in work. And although I love the idea of this gun, and sometimes pull it out just for fun, I can't deny other guns just straight up kill a million times faster than this gun can with just its set play. The one saving grace is that the sludge can do plenty of damage, but Flak Cannons and RazorJacks can do more. Then again, the secondary fire is, yet another charge move where you load the entire cylinder full of toxic love juice just to sneeze them out. This is, of course, a super big area denial tool, but the charge time is so slow I never really used it. I mean, even if I wanted to deny area, I'd cover a lot of space with a bit of damage rather than just one specific place with a lot of damage. It's a good idea, it's just not worth it. There isn't really all too much to say, really. It's the most understandable in a modern FPS setting. The main difference being that the rate of fire, is a little ridiculous. All of these can headshot, by the way. Oh yeah, headshots do so much damage in this game. If you can consistently get these headshots on these jumpy aliens, you basically win the game once you get this gun. However, you get the sniper rifle at earliest around the halfway mark of the game. And there's a lot in the early half where having a sniper rifle would be really cool, and there's a lot in the later half where having a sniper rifle doesn't really matter. So, perfect timing to introduce a gun. Good job, devs. Perfect. The damage could either be decent to fucking insane. A damn shame you get, no ammo. Sometimes you'll find a pack with 8 rounds in there. Most of the time you'll just find one stray rifle round lying in the corner just there, chilling. Oh, by the way, look at the size of these things. The idea of good weapons having no ammo is pushed to the extreme here. You're never going to have max ammo if you actually use the poor thing. But if you got this far into the game, you should be fine without it. Secondary fire zooms the gun, and I say zoom, they really just increase the field of view the longer you hold it. No overlay, no nothing. It just zooms. It looks really weird, but I guess they're doing the best with what they got. It's a really good gun. Really, really, really good gun. If it had more ammo, the game would be broken. You know what? When I put it that way, it's a good thing there's no ammo for this gun. Jesus. They really did save the best for last. It's a rapid-fire hit-scanning weapon. It's like a really, really fast Automag. Almost literally. It uses the same ammo, which, okay, if all of the other guns somehow haven't made the Automag obsolete for you, this gun will. Nothing can stand in its wake for more than 100 rounds, unless of course it's a boss. If there's a dude that's living and you'd rather he wasn't, this gun will bring him to the great beyond faster than any other gun in the game. Just keep your crosshair on them. Hold your fire mode of choice, circle strafe, and you basically win. There's no counterplay. If the ammo problem with the sniper rifle was bad, this doesn't get worse, the problem is just different. See, the Automag you have a max of 200 rounds, which works perfectly fine in the early game, like it could be too much for the early game, but that max stays once you get the minigun. 200 rounds is all you'll ever have at once, and that's not enough with how weak the bullets are and how fast you can fire them. Yes, it shreds whatever you're aiming at, but the candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long. Near the beginning of the game, they give you clips, which just only give a small amount of pistol rounds. It's not a lot for the minigun, but it's just right for the Automag. But around the same time you get the minigun, most of those clips upgrade to bullet boxes, which gives you 50 bullets per pickup, and it's still not enough. And if you want to make the problem worse, you can use a secondary fire and shoot less accurately but even faster, because you know what they say, the candle that burns 3 times as bright burns a third as long. But let me tell you, bro, when you use this gun, you use the hell out of this gun. And also, just look at how cool this gun looks. There's like 6 barrels and they're all cycling around each other. When I was a kid, I had no idea what was going on. This model is so complicated, they just gave up trying to make a 3D view model for it. It's just a cool gun. I love this gun. So yeah, some of the early guns are kinda whack, and because of the way the guns are introduced, you'll be stuck with them for quite a while, but I think that works for the game's favor. The early levels are dependent on you having a lackluster lineup, and using such weak weaponry at first allows you to appreciate the stronger weapons that you'll have later. I mean, think of the alternative. Quake. Great game, love it to death, but it blows its load way too early. The first level, you not only start with a shotgun, but you can soon find the nail gun and then the super shotgun. It works for Quake, yeah, but if they did something like that in Unreal, you wouldn't have the same time to appreciate the lower level weapons when that was all you have, nor the higher tier weapons when you finally get them. It's also possible to just outright miss certain guns, like you could just not find them. Was the first Nolly man you tried to help get killed? Well, I guess you aren't going to get the stinger till a little bit later. Didn't find the ASMD secret? I didn't until I found it by accident as a kid. Didn't get the Flak Cannon from this side of the map before going to the other side of the map? That really sucks, bud. Missed the RazorJack for the first time? I did this playthrough. So yeah, just keep your eyes peeled and you'll definitely find them. You never need a gun to progress proper, it's just things you'd much rather have on your belt than not. Besides, if you miss something the first time, you'll almost always have a second chance before the game ends. I promise. No need to search for a guide or anything. So yeah, the guns are great. But you know what else is great? Miscellaneous stuff. I don't really have a clue where to shoehorn in these points, so I'm just gonna dump them all in one cute little group. An expansion to the original game. Think of it like DLC. Apparently back then, DLC, expansion pack add-ons, or whatever modern linguistic equivalent were sold on CDs, kinda like the base game. This was made not by Epic, but rather another studio called Legend Entertainment. You've probably never heard of them. They did their thing by making text adventures in the early to mid 1990s. And when they started to shift their focus on action games, they made a game also using the Unreal Engine called Wheel of Time. I've never heard of it, but maybe at some point I'll look into the game as some sort of Unreal Engine 1 retrospective video or some such. Regardless, they know how to use the engine, and they know how to tell a story. Mate, I never really bothered with this expansion. Mostly because whenever I play the game, I'd get halfway through Radjigar Mine and just give up. But the one time I did play it, as a kid, I remember not liking it. I haven't touched this expansion since, and to be honest, I had really low expectations from the start. Whenever you hear people talk about this game, it's always about the amazing base game. Nobody ever talks about the expansion, and I always assumed it was because it was bad. I mean, this started Unreal's expansions and then ended it, so could it be as bad as I remember? No, not really. It's just more Unreal with some really questionable decisions. But let's start off simply. What happened to our beleaguered prisoner out in space? Did he or she starve to death? Did they find rescue? Well, yes, actually. By a bunch of Marines, I think. I don't know. This expansion picks up right where the base game ends, and they pick you up in a cutscene with the music way too loud and the dialogue way too quiet. Maybe it's just my settings, or maybe it's just the direction they were going for. Either way, I find it funny. You then get dropped back onto planet because you need to find a thing from a ship or some shit. I don't know, I don't care. They give you the weakest gun in the game in its weakest state, a rechargeable scuba gear, and an audio recorder? Why do we need an audio recorder? Well, what are you going to do with that audio recorder?
A day after my so-called rescue, and I'm going back to the surface of the planet. They promised me a full pardon and transit back to Earth in exchange for my help. The alternative was a trip out the airlock without a suit. I agreed to take the mission. My job is to find the wreck of another ship.
They do this at the end of every level. Yeah, forget what I said about seamless transitions. Fuck that. Let's make sure the player knows exactly what to think.
I'm glad I figured out how to bring water back into the underground well system. The Nolly won't die of thirst. And it's a good thing the scuba gear works so well.
Oh, wait, I take that back. Most of the time, the lock just doesn't play. Like, nothing happens. I don't know if this is an old Unreal thing, or if it's been like this forever. I can barely remember. You're not missing out on much, though. All they say is whatever just happened. Okay, to be 100% fair, the voice actors aren't awful. But they've been given George Lucas-type scripts with George Lucas-type direction.
I'm close. I've seen the first evidence of the crash site. During a tough slog through a Nolly village infested with Skaarj, I came across pieces of...
They shouldn't be here. They didn't need to be put through this torture. It just wastes my goddamn time. So, bad first impressions. Let's keep going and see what else this POS has to offer. Okay, the level design isn't the best, but it's still okay. The base game had some all-star people giving enough time and resources to make amazing maps. This expansion has a team of a few with very little time and money doing their absolute best. And it's not the worst in the world, I've made worse. So you go over to this downed ship for something or something. I don't know why they have you go there, really. They betray you, because of course, and the way they did it, it's just cringe. You're locked in place in whatever game state your character was in, and you're just able to rotate around and shoot your gun, listening to the Marines screw you over or something, I don't know.
Success of Operation Talon Hunter.
Acknowledged.
Bodega Bay, one more thing. Operation Talon Hunter is classified Deep Ultra. Once you've finished your mission, you must implement measures to eliminate any security risks.
And then, somehow, they just teleport directly on the ship that you've spent the past hour and a half trekking to just to kill you. Like, what was the point? Oh yeah, this battle, almost awesome. But they decided to give the bots the combat assault rifle. A hit scan, rangeless, barely any spread gun. Yeah, this fight sucked ass. The entirety of the time I've played this game, I've never got pissed, because most of the time what happened to me was my own fault. Like, I would have had to dodge this, or maybe I made a bad judgment call, or I blew myself up for the 15th goddamn time. You can't dodge hit scan. There's a reason they didn't give the Skaarj troopers sniper rifles, and if they did, it was in very favorable terrain for the player. This took me forever to do, and I got a little mad. I peed a bit, I won't lie. Anyways, somehow you find out some wacky-ass shuttle is hiding where the intro cinematic has been playing all along. So in order to get there, you just wander around until you literally teleport there. And then go through a really linear level and win! Yay! I'm of the opinion that it's not the story you're trying to tell that's important, but rather how you tell it. Looking at it objectively, the expansion has more happening. Like, there's character development, betrayal, some crazy third thing, but the story in the base Unreal is told so much better, with so much more nuance, care, subtlety, and respect for the player, that it's, all in all, just far more engaging than the expansion. More doesn't always mean better. Sometimes the absence of something can be just as strong as its presence. Just like the weapons the expansion added. Oh yeah, they added 3 weapons to the game, which... oh shoot, do I have to do that JoJo thing all over? To be frank, I was utterly out of touch with this gun going in. I picked it up for the first time in years, and the first thing I thought was, Jesus, these guns are gonna dump all over the original's balance. And I wasn't wrong, but it's not as bad as I originally thought. The original game had 4 hit scan guns, right? Being able to instantly shoot an enemy designed to be a dodge god can easily break the game if it's not balanced correctly, and it was balanced so well in the original game, I more often than not used non-hit scan weapons, because even the instant shooting guns had weaknesses that balanced that out. This gun, well, it's a fully auto hit scan weapon, just like the minigun, but way faster and way weaker, because you know what they say, the candle that burns 4 times as bright burns a quarter as long. Also, the spread of this gun I find to be like a quarter of that of the minigun. I never really considered shooting dudes at this distance with the minigun, but with the combat assault rifle, easy peasy. The gun may be extremely weak, but with the high rate of fire it has, this doesn't really matter. Everything just gets melted, just like your ammo supply. The secondary fire is this shotgun explosion burst thing. That's also hit scan. The rate of fire on this shot is really slow, but on paper it makes up for that with its much stronger stopping power than its primary counterpart. At first, I thought it'd be like the whole Stinger thought process, only more fleshed out. But they fucked it up, because you can use the secondary fire while shooting with the primary fire, which just boosts its strength score 2-fold. So you may be thinking, dude, what's the problem? It's like a replacement minigun, which, may I remind you, replaced the Automag. You had no problem with the minigun being a really powerful auto hit scan. What's the problem here? I don't know, dude. This gun just doesn't fit Unreal at all. Every gun has so much creativity to it, so much choice and decisions. You gotta keep track of so many factors when thinking up your plan of attack on the fly. This gun is kind of a break from the formula of the original game, and not in a having a break type of way. Like, the minigun is really good, but there's a lot of situations where using it is just plain retarded. Unless you don't have ammo for the car, the only reason you're not using it is to save up ammo for it. It's the wind gun. And the entire time I played Pali, I thought, wait, why don't I just use the car and win the game? It affects the balance so hard, the game no longer engages me with just this roster alone. So just as I thought, this game dumps on the finely tuned balance of the original roster. Well, not exactly, because these are weapons by the space military or something. The only time you can find the following weapons and their ammo is in supply drop caches sprinkled throughout every other level, which makes ammo by far the rarest in the expansion. Not only are you on the lookout for these crates, you also have to pray to the 4-boobed Denali goddess that they have car ammo in it, and car ammo only, because you really don't want ammo for the other 2 guns that it adds. A lack of ammo is the only thing balancing this gun, and at this point, the idea of ammo being a liability is stretched so far and thin, it's starting to get a little goofy. And besides, despite ammo being rare enough as it is, it still isn't enough to balance the gun's strength and utility. But hey, if you're the type of guy who likes being a broken killing machine, who am I to stop you, right? Maybe you'll have more fun than I did in this expansion. But at least we can agree on one thing, and that the other additions to the roster are trash. Hey, remember when I gushed over the 8-ball gun? How one weapon takes the rocket launcher and grenade launcher archetype, combines them, and makes an, although not efficient, still fun and brilliant addition to the game? Well, apparently, someone didn't get the memo, and I've been sitting here for like 30 minutes trying to think of a joke, and we already have a grenade launcher! It's already there! This whole weapon is the same as a secondary fire to another one. In all seriousness, it does basically function the same as the 8-ball secondary fire. Except it's bad! It's so much worse! These grenades go nowhere, and they go so slow. We already have it. Why do we need another grenade launcher? If you manage to hit with it, yeah, it deals a nice chunk of damage, but good luck with grenades like this, bud. The secondary fire is a grenade that you can just remote detonate later. Frickin' Demoman, whatever. Bad! This gun's bad! It just baffles me, because we already have a grenade launcher, dude! All these guns are just other guns, but worse. What the hell, dude? There's more creativity in the Stinger than all of these guns combined. Stinger, the names too. You have the combat assault rifle, the grenade launcher, the rocket launcher, and the base game you got the Stinger, the Flak Cannon, the 8-ball, the ASMD. It's just all bland military stuff. You shoot rockets. That's it. It looks cool, but we already have a rocket launcher! And it's slower too. Remember when I called the 8-ball slow? Well, it looks hit scan compared to this. Maybe it does more damage, I don't know, but all it does is shoot rockets. There's no creativity, no loading up barrels, no spiral formation, just rockets. Slow, dumb, boring rockets. The secondary fire turns this game into Half-Life, because the rockets does its best to follow your crosshair. Better than the RazorJack at least, but that doesn't matter because the secondary fire rockets are just so much slower than they already are, which makes sense since they have to adjust with what you're aiming at, and if they were going too fast it wouldn't be able to curve in time a la the RazorJack, but still! Okay, so Nepali wasn't the worst thing in the world, but compared to the base game, it just flounders. I feel like, given enough time and resources, this team could have made something truly wonderful. They just weren't given enough. After a while, saying that the levels are just okay isn't enough to keep one going. I had to take a break when playing Nepali, whereas the original game, easily twice its size, and I completed that in a week. It feels uninspired, like a formality. It's just dull, and there's not much to talk about when it's dull. It's not even bad enough to be made fun of. It's kinda sad, actually. Despite having a fantastic single player, Unreal's legacy was not to be made with a groundbreaking campaign. No. Its legacy was to be found in its bot matches and its multiplayer. Remember when I said that the enemies you face in the campaign are really close to human players? Well, that translates really well for the bots you play in offline multiplayer. They jump all over the damn place, psych you out with crazy movement, and play around whatever weaponry they have. Despite being really accurate and really fast, I never got angry playing against them. Sometimes, they just have better weapons than me. Sometimes, I get juked out. Sometimes I choke. You know what I mean. When you die, it's typically bad luck or your fault. There's not too much cheap in multiplayer given everyone has the same weapons available. For me, average skilled bots are just right for me. Not too easy, not too crushing. It's great. You know what's not great? When you die, you respawn with the Dispersion Pistol. And yeah, with a gun like this, it's quite a struggle. Because the guns you get later are so powerful, and your starting gun is so weak, it's typically very easy to get yourself in a slump, where you respawn, run around for a bit, then get stomped just to respawn and do it all over again until you find a Flak Cannon, minigun, or sniper rifle and proceed to stomp those who are respawning themselves. It's a rich get richer type of world, and it can suck sometimes. It can be great sometimes, but it can also suck sometimes. The best you can do with this gun is jump all over the place and pray that a few of your shots takes out whoever you're shooting at before they shoot you. Sometimes you get lucky, and then you take their gun and then you proceed to rock and roll after that. But if you're not careful, a fresh respawn you weren't expecting can take you out just like that. I've seen more kills with the Dispersion Pistol in all the time I fooled around with these bots than the Automag, Stinger, 8-Ball, and Biorifle. Not because the pistol is so good or these weapons are bad, but because when that's all you have left, that's all you have left. You gotta rely on luck, and sometimes you get it. Also, I discovered a bit of a meta, at least against these bots. Try your best to get either the sniper rifle for quick, accurate, easy kills, the Flak Cannon for quick, easy, and up-close kills, or the minigun for quick, rapid, mid-range kills. I don't play with the car. That's crap. These guns are on a whole other playing field in these maps against these bots. First of all, if they manage to get themselves a sniper rifle, you're just about fucked. With a sniper rifle being so fast and so powerful, these bots can take those strengths and run with it, killing you sometimes before you even know what happened. Maybe you could sneak up on them or something? I don't know. That being said, if you have a sniper rifle, its strengths are like nothing else. The Flak Cannon can kill people without armor or extra health in one clean smack. It's a little slow, but being able to do this much damage more than makes up for it. But needless to say, if you miss your shot, your juke game better be on point. And the minigun is just freaking awesome. It's not that the other guns are bad or anything, but in this game, speed is so important. If you can't kill someone before they kill you, you're dead. You're done. Slower options aren't even worth using unless you have literally no other option. So yeah, the multiplayer has a bit of problems. But they would later be fixed in Unreal Tournament, a game which definitely needs its own video in order to do it justice. Right now, let's just stick to the gold and fight some actual people. Yeah, even with old Unreal's work and servers being run and being able to join any server with a click of a button, I just could never find a game with more than 3 people in it. And when I try to join these 3 people prop pump RPG Minecraft sex servers, I get a huge laundry list of shit I gotta install before Unreal just gives up and stops downloading them, almost trying to say, yeah bro, don't. And what's up with these servers, guys? Do we need to talk? Are you all alright? Like, come on, man. Like, wow, this is horny as hell, dude. Come on, chill. If you're an old school type gamer like myself, and you have yet to play this game, you probably already know about it. And if you went this far without playing it, why would you just spoil the best parts of the game? Whatever, you do you. If you've never heard of this game before, and anything I said interested you, the game really is worth the few bucks it is on Steam or GOG, especially if it's on sale. Besides, there's still a bunch about this game I haven't even touched on. Like, the music is on a whole other freaking world, and with Old Unreal, you have your own freaking music player that you could play whatever track you want. And like, I haven't even gotten to talk about these guys or those dudes. Half the levels in this game are just unmentioned in this video, much to my dismay, but hey, I gotta stop somewhere. It was great coming back to this game. It was great making this whole video. Honestly, I had a problem where I would think, okay, I'm gonna start and finish this one game, but I never would for whatever reason. But saying, alright, I'm gonna make a video about it, really pushed me to actually finish it again. So, thanks, me, for coming up with this idea or some such, whatever. I'm glad I got to go through all of Unreal again. And if at least one person watching this video decides to at least give it a shot, that'll also make me pretty glad.